Hi, I'm Alice.
Hi, I am Noah.
I never thought my stepson would do these things to me. We had been living in the same house for 5 years. Noah wasn't my biological son. I had always felt a bit distant from him, never quite forming the motherly connection I had hoped for. Yet recently, I found myself noticing the changes as he grew older. His youthful energy was hard to ignore, and I became more aware of our dynamic. At breakfast, I observed him thoughtfully, wondering if there was a way to bridge the emotional distance between us. I tried to convey a bit more warmth, hoping to foster a connection that had previously eluded us. Each day, I aimed to be more attentive, making small gestures to show I cared. His father, often busy with the newspaper, didn't notice my efforts to bond with Noah in a meaningful way. I hoped my sincerity would encourage a more positive relationship over time, one built on understanding and trust.
When I sat down at the table in the morning, my dad was going through the newspaper as usual. I had gotten used to having breakfast with my mom. Even though I didn't call her mom anymore, I still felt like she was my mother. For 5 years, she had generally been distant and cold towards me, but there was something strange about this morning. Alice was different from her usual self. Her eyes were constantly on me, and she was looking at me with a slight smile on her face. At first, I didn't think much of it, but throughout breakfast, we couldn't avoid making eye contact. Every now and then, she would bring her tea glass to her lips for a delicate sip, all while staring at me without blinking. Her gaze was making me feel uncomfortable. My dad was completely oblivious, still hidden behind the newspaper. I thought my mum's behavior might be a coincidence, but after a while, it seemed like she was searching for my eyes, as if she wanted to tell me something. I became increasingly uneasy, but I tried not to show it. After breakfast, my dad suggested going shopping. We decided to head to the mall together to pick up what we were missing at home. My mum was standing closer to me than usual. When we arrived at the mall, my dad took out the shopping list and told us to wait while he went to get a few items. Alice approached me slowly and said, "You look really handsome today, Noah," her eyes roaming over me. Her voice was softer and more delicate than I had expected, capturing my attention. I was surprised, but at the same time, I couldn't understand her interest. My dad was engrossed in his list and had wandered a few aisles away. I started wandering the store corridors with Alice. I felt a bit bored amidst all the colorful clothes, bright lights, and the splendor of the shop windows, but I couldn't help but notice Alice's energy. I was surprised by how eager she seemed. Alice picked out a few dresses and turned to me, asking, "What do you think? Which one do you think would look good on me?" The dresses she chose were quite daring. She was picking short, form-fitting outfits. Even her asking for my opinion made me nervous, but I tried to hide it and replied, "Not bad. Good choice." Her smile deepened as she said, "Really? Thank you," and began examining another dress. After a while, she went into the fitting room with a few mini dresses. Occasionally, she poked her head out of the booth, showing off her slim waist and shoulders as she pulled the zipper of a dress, asking, "How does it look? Do you like it?" I was at a loss for words. These questions excited me more and more. Each time she emerged from the fitting room, the hem of the dress seemed a little shorter and the neckline a little bolder. My eyes couldn't help but wander over Alice. With a growing thrill inside me, I realized this moment was far beyond a typical shopping trip.
Trying on the dresses in the fitting room and showing them to Noah filled me with a strange excitement. I enjoyed surprising him a little more each time. I could see how his eyes sparkled every time I stepped out in a mini dress. Feeling his interest gave me confidence. Peeking my head out of the booth, I asked, "Noah, how does it look? Do you think this dress suits me?" His gaze was roaming over me. I liked seeing that. The other people around us seemed insignificant. All I wanted was to catch Noah's attention. The red mini dress I was wearing had a low neckline and was quite short. I took a step closer to Noah and asked, "What do you think of this dress? Is it appropriate?" I searched his eyes for an answer, as if I were putting him to the test with my questions. There was uncertainty on Noah's face. I could tell I had surprised him, but I couldn't help playing these games to show my interest.
Alice stepped out of the fitting room with her dress zipper halfway down, looking as if it needed adjusting. She turned to me with a slight smile and said, "Noah, could you help me for a second? I can't pull up the zipper." I was a bit surprised, but quickly regained my composure, stepping closer to assist. I carefully reached for the zipper, feeling a rush of nervousness. Being close to her like this was a new feeling. As I gently pulled up the zipper, my hand brushed against her back. The warmth of her skin caught me off guard, and I tried to stay focused on helping her without showing any nervousness. When the zipper was finally closed, Alice looked back at me with a smile and said, "Thank you." Then, with a warm gesture, she briefly kissed my cheek. I felt a mix of emotions, unexpected, but unforgettable. Alice smiled and said, "I'll take care of the rest," before stepping back into the fitting room. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything that had just happened.
I felt that I had managed to impress Noah with my little gestures. The closer I got to him, the more surprised and excited he looked. It had turned into a game for me. His hand brushing against my back while pulling the zipper increased the tension between us. I could sense how shy yet excited he was in that touch. When I planted a quick kiss on his cheek and saw the astonishment in his eyes, it brought me joy. This moment was a great opportunity to stir him up a little more. When I returned to the fitting room, I couldn't help but smile. Just as I intended, I had managed to confuse him. I looked at a few more dresses in the fitting room but couldn't make a decision. It had become difficult to understand which dress suited me better, showing just how much of an impact Noah had on me. The uncertainty inside me was starting to excite me even more. I turned to Noah and said, "I don't know which one to choose. I want your opinion. Which one do you think looks best on me?" I surveyed the dresses with my eyes, curious about what he would pick. I was not only seeking his opinion, but also trying to figure out what he liked. Noah moved back and forth between a few dresses, and then he finally pointed to the shortest and most revealing one. When his eyes lingered on that dress, I realized how deep our communication had become. This was a challenge for me. Noah's choice was an unexpected display of courage. My smile indicated that I fully understood his selection. "This dress seems to be the most suitable for you," I said, locking my eyes onto Noah's. I felt a surge of excitement mixed with a sense of satisfaction.
Alice's indecision presented me with an opportunity. When I pointed to the shortest and most revealing dress, I noticed the change in her gaze. Alice's smile and sincere looks conveyed that this was not just shopping, but also a game that heightened the tension between us. I felt very bold. I had made my choice based on Alice's preferences, eagerly anticipating her expression. The growing excitement within me made this ordinary moment feel much more significant. After a while, my dad started to appear at the entrance of the mall. Alice quickly went over to him and asked, "Are you ready?" We all walked out together toward the car. The confusion I felt inside and the tension-filled moments with Alice occupied my mind on the way home. The dynamic between my dad and Alice as they chatted made me think. On one hand, I was eager to relive those tense moments.
After we got home, my husband immediately lay down on the couch and fell asleep. He must have been tired. He looked worn out from shopping all day. I also decided to take a bath to alleviate my fatigue. I thought a warm shower would do me good to shake off some of my tiredness. Once I entered the bathroom, a voice inside me told me not to lock the door. I didn't think Noah would be around. I figured he was playing in his room as usual. As I relaxed in the warm water, I thought about what had happened with Noah today.
My dad had fallen asleep in front of the television, exhausted from a long day of shopping. As I headed to my room, I heard the sound of water running in the bathroom. Pausing, I found myself momentarily curious. I approached the bathroom door, hesitating for a second before lightly knocking and opening it a crack. "Alice, I just wanted to check if everything's all right," I called out, hoping I didn't sound too awkward. Through the small opening, I could see the shower curtain drawn and hear her voice in response, though it was muffled. "Can you hear me?" I asked, stepping a bit closer to make sure she was okay. I felt conflicted, knowing I should turn back, yet still drawn by an undeniable curiosity. "Can you hear me, Alice?" I called out. She replied, but I acted as if I hadn't heard. Pretending to be anxious, I walked toward her and decided to open the shower door. This move made me even more nervous, but having come this far, I couldn't back down. When I opened the door, I was taken aback. Alice was in the shower, surrounded by steam, her outline barely visible through the mist. The droplets of water glistened as she turned to look at me, and I felt my pulse quicken. I struggled with the unexpected emotions that surfaced, a mix of embarrassment and confusion. Seeing the shock on Alice's face deepened the complex feelings this situation created. I'm sorry, I managed to say, but I couldn't help but keep looking at Alice. She looked amazing.
When I saw Noah looking into my eyes, I felt a bit flustered. The soap in my hand started to slip. I was caught off guard by the moment. Realizing how strange this was, I quickly gathered myself, aware that he was watching. Trying to keep my composure, I said, "Noah, could you help me a little?" I knew I might have put him in an unusual position, but I wanted to lighten the mood. Smiling, I added, "Maybe you could scrub my back." Noah's surprised expression made me chuckle softly, but also feel a bit self-conscious. "Okay," he said, his voice a little uncertain. His response helped ease the tension. As Noah reached for the soap, my curiosity shifted to see how he would handle it. He carefully lathered my back, moving gently. I felt the warmth of his hands, noticing a familiar scent in the air. His calm movements helped me relax. "This feels nice," I said to show my appreciation. His eyes stayed focused, slightly anxious but sincere. He grew more comfortable, continuing to lather my back. I was grateful for his help and stayed grounded in the moment, keeping things light-hearted.
I couldn't shake off the effects of the moments in the bathroom. Touching Alice, experiencing that moment with her, had deeply affected me. A feeling began to emerge within me. I realized that my feelings for Alice were more than just simple attraction. But could I sustain this situation? Making up an excuse, I said, "I'm going to my room," and headed toward my room. My intention was to grab Alice's attention and make her chase after me. Lying on my bed, I stared at the ceiling and thought about what had happened between us in the bathroom. Feeling her interest in me encouraged me even more.
I came out of the bathroom and decided to quickly finish my shower. The taste of that moment lingered on my palate. Noah's approach and the tension I felt were unnecessarily exciting me. But when I saw Noah avoiding me, a surge of anger welled up inside me. I quickly put on my bathrobe and went to his room. I opened the door and entered. At that moment, I felt like I had made the biggest mistake of my life. I had forgotten to tie my bathrobe, and it suddenly fell to the floor. My heart started racing and I didn't know what to do.
When the door opened and I saw Alice walk in, I was stunned. But my eyes immediately focused on her. The falling of her bathrobe left me completely frozen. As my gaze drifted over her, I moved to get a closer look. "Here, Alice," I said, picking up her bathrobe from the floor. My heart raced as I felt the distance between us diminish. The surprise and excitement in her eyes drew me in even more. As I handed her the robe, the tension between us was palpable. "You'll catch a cold," I said, smiling at her. But I knew how intense my feelings were. While trying to understand what was happening, the expression in Alice's eyes showed me that everything was much deeper. The distance between us had vanished. Trusting this, I decided to kiss her. I thought I was making a mistake, but she reciprocated, and we spent the entire night together.
In that moment, I was overflowing with the excitement of being together. I had forgotten that my bathrobe had fallen. I was lost in Noah's arms. I felt that all barriers to spending the night together had been removed.